Hey, so to start this off in a strange twist of fate, that this week just doesn't want to let us go easy. The audio on the mics didn't record, and fortunately, the camera recorded, but didn't record the entire podcast to cut off the last like 2 or 3 minutes. So basically, at the end of the podcast, we just wanted to say thank you to everybody for always, all the engagement and everything that we get from this. This is great. It's incredible. And, we hope that we always provide value. And if you do get value out of this, please like and share this out. Super important to get the message out. And again, bear with us on this episode. Thank you very much for always tuning in, and we appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Every time, every night is a loose one. And every flight, you know that I put the crew on. You say that I drop, well then tell me what you done. I'm still in my winning phase, yeah, I've been away, are you entertained? Yeah, the God in me, that's what I'm constantly summoning. I love the climb, I don't care where the summit is. Funny when people be saying I peaked, retired, my parents, they live at the beach.
Welcome back to the Grind and Shine project. Little bit of a hiatus that we've been on. It's at opening this podcast, we were just talking back and forth in the office, and we were always told, and still are, told today from our mentors and our coaches, that you need to listen to people that are actually running real businesses and encountering real problems in their day-to-day. And coincidentally, that was the last couple of weeks for us. Usually we like to come in here on a Saturday and record, but the last few Saturdays and 1 or 2 Sundays, we've been actually working in order to keep up with the demand of our clients. And, sometimes some jobs go sideways, and they run long, and crews are allocated to other places and things like that. And I think it's important to do a episode on the problems that we encounter, and that, in a world where we have social media being the highlight reel of everything, you don't see the behind the scenes struggles, and especially this week.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know this week has been a lot of gut punches. Yeah, it's been a lot of gut punches, late night phone calls, issues just like stacking up on top of each other. And I guess, they're all good problems to have in the long run, but when you're going through it, man, it's pain in the ass, I'm sure. So like you said, we've been meaning to get podcasts recorded, but just things required our attention that were a little bit more important, at least in the immediate, so we needed to address those as they came, and so we're finally getting around to doing this one.
Yeah, and some of those things, it's really weird how it works, because this whole week, especially this week, I feel like it kind of culminated this week. The last few weeks really hit its peak, like right now, with how, how hard it's been. It's just been like a slog. And by no means are we also, just this as a aside here, this is not like complaining. This is also not venting. This is just saying that this is stuff that is completely normal. Like when you're running a business and you have a team and you have clients that you care about, you need to always be the problem solver on the job site. If you're in the construction industry, you have to be the problem solver on a job site. And that sometimes means working long hours and fixing things that you didn't necessarily cause to happen, and adjusting the schedule in order to make sure that your client gets what they need on time. So that all those things are what has happened for us over the last couple of weeks, and it's the important stuff that you don't always see online that can be the make or break, where you're trying to trudge through it and I guess just power through to create the dreams that you want to have come to fruition.
Yeah, and I think when I post things on LinkedIn and social media, I'll post the finished pictures of a project, and or the before and afters, and get likes and comments and everything, and it doesn't really show the true war scene that went into that project of just, I mean, literally machines breaking, having to run to another job site around the corner, or 10, 15 blocks away, or how many trips to Home Depot did we have to make that were not planned to get more supplies that go into completing these projects. And fortunately for us, most of our work in Manhattan is only about 20, 30 minutes away from each other. And within there you have Home Depots and everything, so it makes it a lot easier. And subway systems to get around if you need to. But yeah, I want to start doing a better job of maybe telling those types of stories that go into the completed project. And not every time, it doesn't need to be every time, but just to kind of give a better background of it. Or, what just happened to us. When did we make that delivery? On Thursday, I think it was.
Yeah.
Just a typical big, beautiful New York City building. We had our box truck fully loaded, front to back, ready to unload it into the building and start a new project. And we go to security, go to sign in, and they tell us that we are not allowed to bring the box truck into their huge loading dock that's wide open with no vehicles in it, aside from a couple of security personal cars, and that we have to unload from the street. Tried to find parking out front of the building, and the only parking that we could find was in a no standing zone. And luckily, this was right in Midtown too. Luckily, we didn't get a ticket for that somehow. I don't know how.
No. Yeah.
But so there we were, across the street from the loading dock, unloading a full box truck's worth of material, crossing the street, waiting for cars to cross, pushing 1,200-pound machine up and down a bumpy road, up cobblestone, walkways, and it's just all part of it. That type of stuff is unforeseen and can trickle and delay your day more than you had expected or anticipated, and just causing some, just delays in the schedule, really pushing other things back.
Yeah, and it's all necessary in the process. And where we are at, and where I think we'll always be, is we are essentially a business is a it's at its core, any business is problem solving, and you're always going to encounter different kinds of problems, and some problems are going to take more of your time and detract from some of your I guess passion projects. Like this is like a passion project for us. We love doing it. We want to create, and it all comes down to what we said in previous episode of having systems and processes, and that will help mitigate any of these kind of real issues from flaring up to be really bad. I think we have enough systems and processes in place now to where we've mitigated any kind of real damage that anything can really happen. And that's the importance of an episode like this, is just talking about overcoming the obstacles and making sure that you still stay on track after, so you're not feeling the ripple effects of this into, weeks and weeks to come. So some of these things that we'd like to discuss that, kept us busy was, job walks. Job walks are very, very important in any industry, whether you're getting pictures or having a project manager go out and view these sites to make sure that you know what you're getting into. It takes a lot of time. I was on a 2-hour job walk yesterday. I'm touring all over this building, and we were going into different mechanical rooms, different lobbies, different areas all over the place. And it takes a lot of time, but it's also very, very important. And that can also derail you, because when I got out of there, my phone was completely blown up,
And luckily, that was a close one. That was only, 20, 30 minutes away?
It was like 30 minutes away.
Yeah. So, even if we have to go to the city New York City for one job walk, that's a 3-hour round trip just in commuting. Not to mention the hour, job walk that it might be.
Yeah.
Or even, sometimes it's even 20 minutes, and you have to spend the 3 hours commuting just for a 20, 30-minute job walk. And it's worth it in the long run.
Yeah.
But for where we are, in New York City, it's decent way. And again, we try and use that to our advantage the most we can. I mean, we have laptops and do what we can on the trains, and listen to podcasts, whatever. We make the most of it for sure, and grateful for that, because I was just telling you the other day, I haven't really been getting through many podcasts because my commute to the office and just around town is, really 15-minute, 20-minute spurts. And within those 15-minute commutes, I'm most likely on the phone talking to you, Dad, or someone, and that just cuts down. I might get 5 minutes of a podcast in, and when you try to knock out an hour-long, 45-minute podcast in 5-10 minute increments, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
So I actually look forward to the drive into the city or train ride into the city because I get that hour to just knock out a podcast or two, even one way, one the other way, and just kind of helps me reset and refocus and hear the same message again, just maybe in a different way.
Right.
Really, really helps me. Even with the books that we read, like the one that I'm reading now is Think and Grow Rich. I sent you a couple of pages of it last night, or this morning. It's nothing new that we haven't heard about or read about before, but it's good to just reinforce it and hear it come out of someone else's mouth a little bit differently than what we're used to hearing, and kind of just keep us on the path of where we're looking to go.
Yeah, but how important was that page that you sent me? And also, when you read something that you're currently going through without even knowing it, like the Think and Grow Rich page that you sent me was basically mindset, and it was saying that you get what you think about. And if you're in a bad spot because you're super busy, the world is like, demanding everything from you, your schedule is nuts, and if if you're thinking about, oh my God, I'm going to get crushed, maybe you can have those thoughts for a little bit and, just get it out of your system, but you have to reset and get into the mindset of, no, this is what I wanted, this is what we need to do. And then I'm also rereading the Jordan Peterson book, and one of the rules in there was, stand up straight with your shoulders back. Reason behind that is that you're showing that you are ready to take on the burden of life. You're ready to withstand whatever is coming at you, and you're not going to sulk. You're not going to go in the corner because life is going to, it's going to beat you down. And Alex Hormozi said it, and it's funny because we saw this post coming out from Alex Hormozi this week, where it was entrepreneurship is repeatedly getting hit in the head and punched in the stomach over and over and over again, with a brief moment of happiness and fun, followed by a swift kick in the nuts. and it's so true. It's so true because you deal with all of this stuff, and a lot of these problems are problems that we wanted to have. We wish that we had these problems, and we now have them. A couple of years ago, we were wishing like all of these things into existence. Man, I wish I was on more job walks. Man, I wish I was getting more proposals out and everything like that. And now you're swamped with proposals, and I'm busy doing job walks, and it's all great problems, but it is just new to have to manage your schedule with that, and also time block.
Yeah, that's definitely one that we spoke about trying to get a better handle on, is our time blocking our schedules. And right now we kind of just let the day come at us for the most part.
Yeah.
We're trying to really hammer down. We're never going to have a set guaranteed schedule. I don't know if anyone really will, but even if we can try and enhance 40% of our schedule, our daily schedule, by implementing 40% of a time blocking schedule situation, I think that will greatly help not only us personally feel successful in our day-to-day, like we produce things, but just the business as a whole, and in turn, obviously, our clients too. We will be more effective.
Yeah. So let's talk about like things that helped us get through tough times and get through chaotic times. And one of those things is something that our dad always taught us was, you always want to make friends. No matter who they are, you always want to try and make friends and always have the benefit of others in the forefront of your mind. So a couple of those examples are great relationships with vendors and if you know, surprisingly enough, everybody thinks that it's like cutthroat, but like, so great relationships with your competitors, you know, and you never know who you're going to need. How many times this week did we like, oh my God, we forgot, you know, the dye for the epoxy.
Yep.
And you called up our vendor and they had it ready for us. And we went there and picked it up. And then I'd like you to tell the story about the, you know, around the corner.
Oh, well, yeah, that, speaking of tying it back into time blocking, my day got away from me. Things came up. I meant to order this dye for the epoxy by noon, and I had all the intentions of doing it. Phone calls that came in, issues arose, and the day got away from me. And before I knew it was 5:30, and our vendor was closed. So luckily, we reached out to our friend Aaron at Abbruzzese Floors Solutions, and he was able to help us out tremendously, and he came through, and we were able to get the dye that we needed in order to complete the job for the next day, because the day before that, on the same job, they ran out of epoxy. So that was a kick in the nuts, because they were scheduled to finish that job like the next day. Luckily, our vendor really, I got to them in time, and they really pulled through for us, and we were able to. You picked up the material, right? That time
I drove to.
They
had it ready. I drove to New Jersey to pick it up and brought it right down to Brooklyn.
Yeah. So that was big. Huge help is that they were able to come through for us with that. So that was like one hoop to jump through, and then we thought we were in the clear with that, and then the next gut punch came of that they ran out of the dye for the epoxy. So that was like another hurdle, another gut punch to overcome, and luckily Aaron was right there for us, and I can't thank him enough. It was 6 o'clock. I texted him. He left his family to come and you know, open up the place, and luckily we were able to get the dye and complete the job the next day. So it's having those relationships and friendships in the industry have been so beneficial to us. And like you said, Dad is the one that always instilled that in us.
Yeah.
Because you never know what you might need from someone, whether it's you have a question about how to install a certain material or how to go about doing a certain procedure, maybe even needing materials like we've needed, or you know, anything, just a pricing question, anything. And luckily, fortunately for us, we've had that mindset, and we are friends, which we think, unless someone out there could tell us different, that we feel that we're friendly with everybody around us in our industry, and we're always there to help them, and they would be always there to help us.
Yeah, and it's also a reciprocal relationship, right? How many people come to us and they ask us, you know, hey, my guys ran short on this epoxy. They ran short on these bags of cement. You know, do you have any? And we're like, yeah, got it. You know, like, come on down, pick it up. You know, pay us when you pay us. You know, we'll get it done.
Yeah.
You know, we'll figure it out. And it's all reciprocal, and it's all good things to put into the universe, and to have those relationships with people, to be a resource and help people and actually make friends, because these people are going through the same journey that you are. And if, you know, listen, business is business, and it is competitive, but it can also be ethical, and it can be, a fun journey versus one that you're in it all on your own, and you have nobody, this whole like cutthroat thing. And, it is a competitive environment, and there is competition when it comes to it. But you know what? You can also have friends in the industry and have a great, working relationship with people.
Sure.
And I would say that there's a lot of times where you need advice, and how many times do we come to, somebody came to us, that people come to us all the time for, and I don't want to sound like a guru or anything, but they come to us for advice on a lot of self-leveling questions. We're very, very good at self-leveling cement. So they come to us asking, like, how would they go about doing this? How would they go about prepping the floor for this kind of situation? And we're more than happy to help. And the same thing goes for us. If it's a little tricky for us, then we ask them, like, what's your expert opinion on this? You guys do this day in and day out, and it's worth it, because then your installations come out better.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know, that's just a big part of that is just being humble.
Yeah.
Being humble enough to ask a question that you're not sure about,
Yeah.
and you know, being humble enough to receive the information. I mean, again, go back to Aaron. I asked him the other day just a basic 101 question that I knew the answer to, but I just wanted to run it by him because he's more efficient in that. And it was one that I was hesitant to ask because, quite honestly, I was like, I know the answer. It's a basic, it's a basic question. I've been doing this 12 years now. Like, I shouldn't be asking it, but I was like, I just put the ego aside and let me just ask him. And he gave me two different options, one of which I knew, but one that I actually didn't really think about, and it helped us, made us better, made me better. So, yeah, definitely never being afraid to ask a question, and honestly, we're never afraid to be asked a question because it might the person might feel stupid for asking it, but it's a total legit question that you know we probably had ourselves at one point.
Absolutely. And you know, like if you could humble yourself and ask somebody else the question, you never know what the answer could be and how much it can really benefit you. It could change your whole life. And, you know, my dad says it. At any time somebody has a question for him, whether it's super on a job or, you know, whatever it is, and I've said it before on this podcast, he always starts out, all right, super simple. Here's what you do. And then he goes from there. And then it really, and then he breaks it down in a super simple manner. And it really comes down to how much you're willing to learn and put your ego aside for that 5 minutes and then become a better installer, become a better, you know, business owner to, and serve your clients better.
But also the flip side of that, I was literally on my way here just listening to Andy explain it, how when you are able to tell a story or teach someone something or answer a question to someone, you in turn become better at it yourself because you either hone your advice, hone your story, and hone your abilities overall of getting better, to do the installation. So if someone comes to us with a self-leveling question, based on what you were saying, it gives us an opportunity to learn how to handle that question better because it's probably going to come up again in the future, but it also makes us think and really focus on how we would go about it. Like when someone asks us a question about self-leveling, I try and like close my eyes and envision like doing it myself and walk them through the steps of that we would take based on how we do it. And it reinforces, you know, it's like a mental training for me too. Like it just continues to keep us sharp, really.
Yeah.
It makes us better.
Well, people in general, always, it's funny, not all, I shouldn't say, but a lot of times people in general give better advice than they are willing to take themselves. And so, you know, if we're giving advice on a floor, we're coaching somebody on a floor, it's forcing us to think of best practices. Yeah. And then once how many times have I coached somebody on installing a floor, training our guys or whatever, and it causes a brainwave for me, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I didn't think about it that way before, but I just had that stream of consciousness while I'm telling them this, and now I'm going to implement that in my own installations or in my own company.